I want you to imagine something with me for a second. You're sitting at your desk. Maybe it's a Tuesday afternoon, and you're doing the same work you've been doing for the past 3 years. You know exactly what to expect. The paycheck hits your account every 2 weeks. You've got your routine down. And honestly, it's not terrible. You're not rich, but you're stable. You've got enough to pay the bills, maybe put a little away each month. You're comfortable. But here's what's strange. Every now and then, late at night when you can't sleep, you feel this weird tension in your chest. Like you're supposed to be doing something more. Like there's a version of your life just out of reach where money isn't this constant background hum of worry. And you can't figure out why you're not moving toward it. That feeling? That's not laziness. That's not lack of ambition. That's the comfort trap. And it's one of the most powerful forces keeping people from building real wealth. Most people think the opposite of wealth is poverty, but that's not quite right. The real opposite of wealth is comfort without growth. It's the plateau, the place where you have just enough to feel safe, but not enough to feel free. And here's what nobody tells you about that place: it's designed to keep you there. I don't mean there's some conspiracy. I mean, psychologically, biologically, we're wired to seek stability once we have it. Our brains literally reward us for reducing uncertainty. That job you've had for 3 years, your brain loves it because it knows what to expect. That savings account that's slowly growing but never really changing your life, your brain sees it as proof you're safe. The problem is, your brain doesn't distinguish between survival safety and financial freedom. It just wants to know you're not going to starve next month. Once that box is checked, it starts screaming at you to stop taking risks, to stay put, to protect what you have. And this is where most people get stuck. They confuse security with progress. They think because they're not broke, they're doing fine. But fine is the enemy of better, and better is what actually leads to wealth. Let me explain how this actually works in your life. Let's say you make $50,000 a year. Maybe you've been at this level for a while. You've got your expenses dialed in. Rent is handled, car payment, groceries, subscriptions, the occasional dinner out. You even manage to save maybe $300 or $400 a month. You look at your account and think, okay, I'm being responsible. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But here's the thing. At that income level, with that savings rate, you're essentially trading time for money at a fixed rate. Your wealth grows linearly. You save $400 a month, so in a year, you have $4,800. In 5 years, maybe $25,000 if nothing disrupts it, which is good, it's better than nothing, but it's not wealth building, it's wealth storing. Real wealth doesn't grow in a straight line. It compounds, it multiplies, it creates new streams. But compound growth requires exposure to uncertainty. It requires putting money into things that might grow faster than your savings account, but also might fluctuate. Starting a side business that might fail, learning a skill that might not immediately pay off, changing jobs for a higher salary that requires you to prove yourself all over again. And this is where the comfort trap closes around you, because all of those things feel risky when you're comfortable. Your brain says, why would you risk the stability you've built? You've got enough. Don't mess it up. I see this all the time with people who've been in the same job for years. They know they're underpaid. They know they could make more somewhere else or by negotiating. But the idea of having that difficult conversation with their boss, or going through interviews, or starting over at a new company where they don't know anyone yet, that feels dangerous. So they stay. Another year goes by, then another. The comfort trap tightens. Or think about investing. You've heard about index funds, about how the market has historically averaged around 10% a year before inflation, or about 7% after adjusting for rising costs. You know your standard savings account might give you well under 1% in many cases. But putting $5,000 into the stock market feels scary, because what if it drops tomorrow? What if you lose money? So you keep it in savings. Safe, comfortable, growing so slowly it'll never actually change your situation. The painful truth is that comfort is expensive. Every year you stay in that job that underpays you, you're not just losing the difference in salary, you're losing the compounded career growth, the network expansion, the skill development that comes from pushing yourself. Every year you keep money in a savings account instead of investing it, you're not just losing returns, you're losing the exponential growth that happens when your money makes money, and that money makes more money. But here's where this gets interesting. Understanding the comfort trap doesn't mean you have to become reckless. It doesn't mean you quit your job tomorrow with nothing lined up, or dump all your savings into cryptocurrency because someone on the internet said to. The shift happens when you realize that calculated risk is different from danger. Think about it like this. When you learned to drive, it felt risky. You could crash. You could hurt yourself or someone else. But you didn't avoid cars forever. You learned. You practiced in parking lots. You started with short trips. And eventually, driving became second nature. The risk didn't go away completely, but you developed the skills to manage it. Wealth building works the same way. The goal isn't to eliminate risk, it's to get comfortable with managed uncertainty, to realize that the biggest risk isn't trying something new and failing. The biggest risk is staying exactly where you are while inflation erodes your purchasing power, while opportunities pass you by, while years slip away and you wake up at 45 wondering why you're still living paycheck to paycheck. This is the psychological breakthrough. You don't need to stop valuing security. You need to redefine what security means. Real security isn't having enough money to survive this month. Real security is building systems that grow your wealth even when you're not actively working. It's having multiple income streams so losing one doesn't destroy you. It's skills that are valuable enough that you could find work anywhere. So, what does this actually look like in practice? How do you escape the comfort trap without destroying the stability you've worked for? You start small. You start with edges. You don't revolutionize your whole life on Tuesday. You find the smallest possible step that moves you toward growth without triggering your brain's panic response. Maybe that means putting just 10% of your savings into a low-cost index fund, not your whole emergency fund, just enough that you start learning how investing actually feels. You watch it go up and down. You realize the world doesn't end when your account dips 3%. You start understanding market cycles instead of fearing them. Or maybe it means spending 1 hour a week learning a skill that could increase your income. Not quitting your job to go back to school full time, just 1 hour. YouTube tutorials, online courses, reading about your industry, slowly building knowledge that makes you more valuable. Or it might mean having one honest conversation about money with your boss, not demanding a raise, just asking what you need to do to move up, to take on more responsibility, to increase your value to the company. Information gathering, building a roadmap. The key is you're training your brain to tolerate productive discomfort. You're proving to yourself that stepping outside your comfort zone doesn't lead to disaster, it leads to growth. And once you have that evidence, once you've done it successfully a few times, the next step gets easier. Then the next one. Eventually, you realize you've moved from someone who optimizes for comfort to someone who optimizes for growth. Here's what I want you to understand. The comfort trap isn't a moral failing. It's not weakness. It's your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do, which is keep you safe. The problem is, we don't live in the same world our brains evolved for. Staying in the same cave with the same tribe, eating the same food worked great for survival 10,000 years ago. But in a modern economy where wages stagnate and costs rise and the rules change constantly, staying still is actually the riskiest thing you can do. You don't have to become someone you're not. You don't have to turn into a risk-seeking adrenaline junkie. You just have to recognize that the feeling of comfort, while nice, isn't the same as building a life where money is a tool you control instead of a constant source of stress. And the beautiful thing? Once you start taking those small steps, once you start proving to yourself that growth doesn't mean destruction, something shifts. The anxiety lessens. You start feeling more secure, not less, because you're building real foundations instead of just hoping nothing changes. Progress beats perfection. Always. You don't need to fix everything today. You just need to be a little braver than you were yesterday. That's how you escape the trap. That's how you build wealth. one uncomfortable step at a time.